if you're in business, maybe you're starting out or maybe you're well beyond, but a lot of people, as you know, just talk about conversions, leads and sales. And I chased that for 7 or 8 years trying to figure that out, and I never got anywhere. I'm like, okay, what was it in 2019 that I actually started being able to get those leads and conversions, but it actually felt great?
Hello, listeners. Today I have a very special guest. Doug Boughton is in the house. Woo woo. For those of you who don't know who Doug is, let me set the stage. Doug has recently spoke on Russell Brunson's stage of over 5,000 people at Funnel Hacking Live. He has won a 2 Comma Club award through ClickFunnels. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it means he's accumulated at least $1 million in revenue online. He is here in his first 7 figures in 18 months and is now the CEO and founder of the Fulltime Freedom Academy. Not only that, but he is in a committed relationship and living his best life. And I love all of that. I really do. And just to know him feels like an honor. But I want you to not just know about Doug, I want you to know Doug. So Doug, after all of those accolades, can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
What went wrong? We all love how successful you are, and that's great. But let's be honest, it hasn't all been rainbows and butterflies, am I right? Like we all learn from other people's mistakes. So tell our listeners what went wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, the honor is all mine. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to all the listeners out there. I just want to open up and share it all. And my big goals is to really shortcut people's path to success. And I'm not going to put a number on it because everybody's path is different. And we can learn a lot from this podcast and our peers and our mentors and even our clients if you're in business. So I'm excited just to open up and share. And there's been many, many mistakes along the way. And I want to just share with you what I believe to be the most important thing in that is not all the cool things that have happened. These 5 major goals I had back in 2019 that I've achieved just this year. The big one came to fruition, which we just talked about, which was speaking on stage at Funnel Hacking Live. That was a goal from day one. On the background of my computer, I update the year on the thing every year on the stage. So it's not about all those things though. What it's about is like who I've become and just having this vision for my life. And I'm just so excited to share it with others to help them paint the vision and know where they're going, and then really work through the struggles and the things that you might hear me talk about today, because we all have them. Yes. So for me, my journey, at least in entrepreneurship, started back in college. I was trying to do everything, anything, just not to go get an internship. Like I was in school for business management and finance and accounting were my minors. I was doing a double concentration, and the school I went to was a 5-year program, required you to work 6 months out of the year in an internship and corporate. And I did that for the first year. And I found that there was some loopholes that I could go, as long as I was producing reports and things like that. So I started doing all kinds of things. I was doing haircuts. I started a haircutting business at one point, and I was selling my chapter notes. I was designing t-shirts for Greek life. And I just found that maybe this path wasn't for me. Got to my senior year, and it all started happening. And it wasn't, in the moment, it was really devastating. I was looking for a co-signer for my last year's student loan, and I couldn't get my mom or my nanny to co-sign. I didn't have any other options. So couldn't get the funds to finish my senior year, dropped out of college, went back home to Connecticut, and I started working in a door-to-door job. So I was doing business-to-business sales for office supplies, and I was pretty successful in that company on paper, looking out, right? They're top 10 in the country every week out of 800 sales reps. But in reality, I was barely putting food on the table every week, couldn't keep up with my student loan interests. And it was just me looking for that next thing. So funny enough, my grandmother, who co-signed my student loans, had a conversation with me. And she's like, you're doing this sales job, you're working nights and weekends in the restaurant. Like, what's going on? They're calling me saying you're not paying your loans. And she said, I have this opportunity. And she brought me to a meeting on a Saturday. No, it wasn't intervention or anything like that. Should have been, could have been. But no, it was a network marketing opportunity. And this was my first time ever hearing anything about making money online. And I just said, I'm open to it. I'm already working 100% commission. I'm working for tips in the nights and weekends. So I explored. But the first big mistake, I kid you not, I signed up. She sponsored me to join that company. So I didn't have the money to sign up. And day one of that, I started doing the thing, right? And they tell you go get friends and family and all these things that were super uncomfortable. I just did it anyway because I really wanted to find a way out. But I started exploring like online
Hold on a
marketing.
second.
Yeah.
I want the listeners to hear that right there.
Mm.
He was uncomfortable, but he did it anyway because he wanted a way out. Who is listening today that you're just willing to do it because you want a way out? I just don't want to miss that nugget right there.
No, thank you. Stop me anytime because I'll keep going. I appreciate the conversation because you're right. Just yesterday, I heard this analogy where what does it take for success? And it's typically when people aren't stretching themselves, right? They get in this comfort zone and that becomes their new comfort. Some people never leave that. And the comfort zone is interesting because you get so uncomfortable. I know for me, I was negative in the bank, 6-figure student loan debt, struggling with all kinds of things, led to addictions. And it was a living nightmare. And I became comfortable with that. And I was okay with that. And then just to go start online business or approach people was like, oh my God, that's so uncomfortable. But I feel like the pivoting moment, we'll get there in a moment, but it was when the irritation was so painful that I had to do something about it. So the analogy is the pearl. A pearl can't be formed without some kind of irritant inside of the oyster, like a grain of sand, and it starts to form that coating, right? And that to me it's been on my mind these past few days.
It's funny what we will be comfortable with, or we will convince ourselves that we're comfortable with because we either don't know a way out or we're not willing to do what it takes to get that way out. And I think a lot of people, we kind of know a way, but we're in our comfort, we're in our space that we've always been in. And we surround ourselves with people that say like, it's okay. Even, and I know you're going to go a little bit deeper on this, or I'm just going to press you a little bit deeper on this, but you said like, I got into some addictions and some things that were not good for me. And I know you just didn't become addicted on your own, right? Like it was who you surrounded yourself with, and they were doing it and you were doing it, and you were feeling that connection with those people, which is what we all truly want. And then you do this network marketing and you kind of feel disconnected because they have no idea what you're doing, right? And so I just want our listeners to hear that, like, where are you at in your life? And you are surrounding yourself with people that are keeping you comfortable, even though inside of you there is this thing that like is not comfortable. Like you're not comfortable, or you would not be listening to this podcast. I guarantee you there's something inside of you that's saying there's more, there's abundance, there's prosperity, joy, love, whatever that is. And you're just sitting here because it's easier, or it takes less energy to stay where we're at.
Yeah, 100% right. And, I did some drastic moves to get out of a situation. And I think,
tell them about that.
And doesn't have to
know that.
Yeah. And I just want to share like what led to all of this was frustration because like I mentioned, one day into that first venture I was in, the next day I was on a phone call finding a new opportunity. I did that for 8 years, 8 years of bouncing around to, some people call it the shiny object syndrome, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's normal. It's just what I've realized is it's an escape, right? There's like this new excitement for something, and then you realize there's work, and then you hit that, they call it the valley of despair. And like what I did for 8 years was go back to the starting point to get really excited about something, hit the wall again, go back. And I did that for 8 years. That's unsuccessful, right? Mm-hmm. Success is going through that wall and doing it anyway. And then you start to see the results happen. And that's what really leads to ultimate success. So I look at it as like failing forward. I counted over 32 different things I did in those 8 years. And I call it the sunrise shift. I'd get home from my day job, go to my night job, work in the restaurant, and it'd be like over midnight, past midnight, and I'd be working till the sun comes up on my business. And 8 years of working on a business, yeah, but never stayed consistent in one path. And that really led to frustration. And then I stopped working on those sunrise shifts. And what I was out doing was partying anyways, because I'm like, this isn't working. Even when I, took a leave from my sales role, went all in on the restaurant business. I did that because it was like more flexible, and I could have people cover my shifts. Where else can you do that? I was just getting more, I found more lazy, to be honest. Just ultimately wanting freedom that was leading to everything but. And when you say you become your surroundings, I ended up losing my apartment, moving in with friends. There was 5 of us living in one apartment. Some of us were on the couch, and you become who you surround yourself with. I lost my license, lost my car, ignored my bills. We were eating junk every night, going out to the bars and just partying until some nights not sleeping at all. So I'm like, who did I become in that? And it took a real reflection to look at that and have a special person in my life pull me out of that, one of my past relationships. And that was the moment where I truly thought like I could die. Like there was nights where I'd go to bed with an ice pack on my heart, like scared if I'm going to, like praying that I'm going to be able to wake up. Like it was a bad place to be. And it was all because I was scared to get uncomfortable and do one thing and stay consistent with it,
Yep. I love your vulnerability here, because I think so many people gloss over like what the struggle is. And when you say for 8 years, I started and went here and back and started and went here, and I should have just broke through. I'm going to challenge you a little bit, because I know there are listeners on here, and myself included, where you're at that. Like you try this and you went here, and you try this and you went here. And they're looking at it like, oh, I just can't stay consistent. Like, I'm not saying don't hold yourself accountable, because I am 100%, for my success or failures. But in that, it might have taken going back and figuring out what your skill set is, what you're really good at, what it's going to take for you to be consistent. Because if you found that on the first try, then you would have broke through it. I guarantee it. But so many of us that are entrepreneurs, we have big ideas. That is the advantage to being an entrepreneur, is that we have these big ideas, and in our culture, information is rampant and you can earn money. That's, a lot of different ways, which is great. But then it also is a lot of challenges, of should I do this? Should I do that? I don't know. I want to take this. And like you said, it was just coming to the realization that I didn't want to break through that uncomfortable place and be consistent and be vulnerable in that place. Because I guarantee the Doug now wouldn't have shared this, or the Doug before would not have shared what the Doug now is sharing, right? And so it's becoming vulnerable with that fact. So I want to set you free, but also our listeners free, that if you are in that stage, if you're at the top and you're coming down into despair and then shining, we all like new builds dopamine and endorphins and things in your body, because new is exciting. And yes, you have to break through that. But don't be so hard on yourself and thinking, oh, I'm never going to find the thing, and just give up. Break through that, even if it is starting over with something else that you can love and be passionate about and find consistency in. But you found yourself in this uncomfortable place, and what was that like? You said a friend, which I always think God puts people in your life and they will bring something out in you, even if it's just for that season. But you said somebody shined some light on you. So then you're at this place, they shine some light on you, and then what?
Yeah, I was given an ultimatum. It was a girlfriend at the time. She said, you need to move out or I'm gone. So I said, okay, I'm moving out. And this is the same person that I really credit a lot to, because she paid for a ticket to an event back in 2019 that changed everything for me. But yeah, just so grateful for that person. And when I think about the business, and past patterns, like I think even when we solve big patterns that aren't serving us, there's new patterns that arise. So just being able to recognize those things. So I don't know I think I heard this from you, Tabatha. It's not about what's right and what's wrong. And I think people look at what's wrong and they go into this place of beating themselves up, especially high achievers. Like we hold ourselves to such high standards. Listen to this, you probably know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about giving yourself grace and not looking at what's right or wrong, but it's about what's working and what's not working. And that's what we get to do, is look at what's not working. And I love this show, because when you can learn, you could either go and spend years figuring out what's not working, or you could come listen to people that are likely where you are or want to be and shortcut that. So I love that we get to, I'll be a listener of this show too, listening. What else are people doing that I get to avoid and learn the things from? For me, yeah, it's really about what wasn't working. And over those 8 years, realizing I'm just going in the same cycle with relationships, my health and wellness, and not getting that student loan paid off, which was a big goal of mine. I want to relieve my grandmother, my mom from that burden, because it was messing up their credit, all kinds of stuff. But when I think about what did it take, it was a vision. It was having this goal. I'd never had these goals before. And when I got introduced to this world of online marketing, I found mentorship and I started doing more studying and all the things, but then I just became a consumer, stuck in that consuming cycle. And then I just said, you know what? I got to pick one thing. Even if it's not the thing that I want to go and build an offer around, I just got to go do it anyways. So here's what helped me. Because who here has too many ideas? You got too many ideas? Let me know. If you have no idea, there's probably more of you listening to the show that probably have too many ideas, too many things you're good at, or versus you don't know. And if you don't know, it's just because of that first thing. So I looked at past version of myself. Okay, where am I at? Who am I ahead of? Even though I felt like I'm not really ahead at all, I did know one thing. I was really looking to get my finances in order, actually look at my student loan account, which I didn't log into for 8 years. And like, hey, maybe looking at it is going to be painful, but I can at least see where I'm at and where I want to go. And just took control of my situation. I committed, I took control of that situation, found out what I really need to live, eat, pay rent, and make sure, like, eliminate everything else. And I found I only needed it was $500 a week to do all of that and still start being able to pay off that student loan. And just got me really clear on where I want to go. So I set 5 big goals in 2018, is the fall of 2018. That was 1, to quit my job and pay off my student loan. Number 2, I was involved in the ClickFunnels world, still am, but I wanted to earn this. If you guys are watching the video, there's a reward over here. It's called the Dream Car Award. When you refer 100 people to a software called ClickFunnels, they will pay for your car every month. And also leads to some passive income, really great passive income. So that was a big goal. Second one. Third one was to join third one was to earn the 2 Comma Club Award, which you also see behind me, which is making $1 million through online revenue. And from there, I could join Russell's inner circle. And that's the person, one of the founders of that company, high ticket mentorship program. And he's just someone I look up to in all areas of life. And then the last part was to speak on stage at Funnel Hacking Live, because this is what happened. You mentioned that person that really pulled me out of that. She saw something in me and said, no, I appreciate you taking the advice. And I really wanted to make that relationship work. And I knew I just had to get in the right rooms with the right people, not couch surfing in a flop house. And she bought the ticket. Wasn't a cheap ticket to go to this event, and the flight and the hotel. And I went there and I was sitting in the back of the room, and I just remember I was meeting some cool people, but I was so closed off because I couldn't even get my head around, I remember being in the back of the room looking at my phone as they're about to break for lunch. I'm like, do I even have money to go and get lunch? I don't want to be with people and be embarrassed that my card's going to get declined, right? I don't know. Has anybody been there before?
Yeah.
Has anybody there, right? It's not a fun place to be.
Yeah.
So in that room, I'll tell you what happened. I'm like, I'm going to get on that stage. Like, I'm hearing these people, I'm talking to them. They're crossing the stage for making $1 million. Like, I believe this is possible because I've had conversations with some of these people. And I'm like, I know if they could do it, I could do it too. And it's just got to be around these people. And that's the first time in my life I felt like it's about the people you surround yourself with. It's about the belief. It's about the vision. And that's when I went home and made those goals. And that was, again, 2019. So I think it's having that vision of where you get to be and what you get to do. And I started thinking about, how can I make this happen? And I guess at that time I called myself back of the room Doug, wondering if I'm going to go eat lunch, and how do I become stage Doug, or how do I shift into that identity?
Yeah.
And for me, it's modeling others' success. So I stayed in touch with a lot of the people I met there. They pushed me on my comfort zone to go and create something, create an offer, one offer, one message, stay focused on one platform, because everything else could be a distraction, right? If you're trying to do all the things, if you're in business. And I said, I want to do something different, because, if most people aren't having the success that they want, I got to avoid what most people do. So I went to find the people I was really looking up to, and they all had community. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go build a community, Facebook group in this case. A community could be anything, right? In person, online, whatever it might look like for you. And most people fake it till they make it. I said, I'm going to go just share where I'm at. I literally posted a screenshot of my negative bank account and my near six-figure student loan debt at that point. In like February 2019, it was like $97,000 student loans. It was past due, all these things. And I just told people where I'm at. And then I said, I've got these 5 goals that are coming through, and I want to document my journey to hitting those goals. And I thought people were gonna like leave my group, they rallied in like 60 days. I was able to get 100 referrals to that software. That group grew to 2,000 members in 2 months. And I was able to check off those first 2 goals. And there was a lot of struggles it took me 5 years to hit those goals, but I didn't quit after that first year of I thought I'd do it in a year. That's how I was like, I'm going to do it in a year. We overestimate sometimes.
Yeah. Tony Robbins says that, right? We overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in a decade.
Yeah, you're right. And now that's why I set goals like, what's my next stretch, my new aim? And I'll talk about things that didn't work. Yeah, I was hitting goals, but when I play the comparison game, I hired my first mentor. I was just comparing so much, and I'm like, oh, he has a team. I'm gonna go hire a team. They're running ads. I'm gonna go run ads. And it felt like everything I tried kept falling apart because I wasn't into that number one belief or identity yet, or even ready in that case. And people say scale, more leads, more sales. And I just felt so anti all of that. I felt like there's got to be a better way. And I didn't want to rush things, but I did. So there's a lot of things learning about what does it take to start and be consistent and then get to where you need to be. And then that's when you make the decision to take that next step. So I built up a team, couldn't end up paying them. Like, even though I was having some success, the more money I made, I felt like more my expenses became, and like even passing the profit, like there was no profit. So that was the first big challenge, was really getting real with myself and what do I need? Where am I at? Where am I going? What do I need? Who do I need? And who do I need to become, really? Yeah. And I know that now, but I didn't know that back then.
Well, and I think a lot of people think like, they see your 2 Comma Club and they're just like, oh my gosh, like he has all this revenue coming in. And what you're saying is, yeah, I did, but it was going out the door. And I mean, I'm a big believer in like, you need to find the who, because for me, like mine is about like strategic, like how you manage your time, but you can't find the who without the right structure. So what I'm hearing from you is you weren't as mature in the learning curve of where you were at to say like, this is the first hire, this is where we are. And then we need to look at the numbers a little bit, and some of our listeners on here are going to like their eyes glaze when they see the numbers. But when you see the numbers, it gives you the truth bomb. Yeah. It shows you up front, like, okay, and then where can we double down on creating that revenue? Like, because you are the revenue source. I mean, ultimately, because people are buying into you and your community and what you're doing. And so it's that balancing act. It's like, yes, we do need to hire, but at what, because I don't want to, one thing I don't want anybody on the listeners here, it's like, I want you to learn where the intangible things, not the tangible, because you're at a different place than where Doug is, no matter what, if you're starting, middle, scale, whatever. It's the intangible. He is saying he didn't have the right mindset. He wasn't quite there yet. That doesn't mean that he isn't there now. That doesn't mean that he couldn't have been when you started. It's about finding the intangible things that are going to leverage your time, your money, and the income. And right now you're saying the comparison. That was the intangible. Like you were comparing yourself
on a big team.
Yes, all these things, like all these accolades, what everybody thinks they want and all the stuff that it's going to get you, and being straight with your goals and saying, this is my goal. I don't want just $1 million. I want $1 million profit, right? So it's also being clear on your goal and knowing the strategic steps for that specific goal too. So there's a tip there. There's a little nugget there that I'm writing that down. Like your goals that have to be so crystal clear that because your brain will find a way. Your brain found a way to give you that funnel, but you're like, but wait a second. That's not all revenue to me. Like, wait a second. I want the $1 million profit funnel. That's what I want.
Yeah. What comes to my mind is like, you've probably all heard this before, is you get what you wish for, right? And I know if you're listening to this, you're a creator. You will go build whatever you choose to build in your business, your life, your relationships, your health and wellness. And it's about really looking at what that vision is. And that's why like everything I do, I start with vision, not only for me, but people I work with and the people I'm connected to. I get them to think a little bit bigger. And
Yep.
I know it's helped me tremendously. And think about if it's not aligned to that vision, is it even necessary? And is it making it more complicated? Right.
Yep.
So yeah, my first hire was my brother. I'm lucky enough to have my some people say don't hire your family, your clients, your loved ones. And it's funny because my entire team is that. And it's such a great place. I think I've lost a lot of people along the way because of not being ready. I'd, hire the next person before I even have the first person situated with all the processes, because you mentioned numbers and, like operate, it's not my suit. Like I just love to go live and talk to people and connect the numbers. But you're right. I've got this formula. I call it the 8 C's to conversion, because here's the thing. If you're in business, maybe you're starting out or maybe you're well beyond, but a lot of people, as you know, just talk about conversions, leads and sales. And I chased that for 7 or 8 years trying to figure that out. And I never got anywhere. And I'm like, okay, what was it in 2019 that I actually started being able to get those leads and conversions, but it actually felt great. And number one, I committed. I quit my job. And I'm not saying go quit your job. You got to commit in some way. Commit strong to yourself. Take control. I took control of my time. So I worked from a calendar to control my finances. Then and only then did I get clarity, because I was the too many ideas person. I had so many things working at one time. Finally got clear on one path. Clarity came. Once the clarity comes, now you can start to gain conviction, because now you can look to provide value and get known for that. And a lot will start to fall in place. Then after conviction, once you're convicted in what you're doing, now let's go communicate it. This is marketing and messaging and all of that, and just really becoming a creator and getting the word out. And once you communicate, now it's about connecting. And it's not about like just connecting with people, but it's about your offer and connecting their problem and pain to your solution. And then once you have those things in place, now the conversions can happen. And it's not even about sales. It's about enrollment, which Tabatha and I've been talking a lot about lately. It's about invoking vision, enrolling them. And then ultimately, like, why do we enroll? Why do we sell? Why do we convert? Whatever you want to call it. For me, it's community. It's about building something where I don't have to keep chasing new leads and new sales, because I've built this community base, this loyal following. And that's what my talk on stage was about, was a small loyal audience, big results, because I don't have tens of thousands of people on a list. I don't have that kind of following, which this framework helped me get clear on why that is. How am I able to do those things? So focus on not on numbers and growth and scaling, but focus on, where you're at, where you want to go, and who gets to be a part of that, and surround yourself by a community of people that you can hang out with every day if you wanted to.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, there's so much there, and we could talk for another hour, but it's like, we just get on a roll. But I absolutely love your conviction on this and your vulnerability, because again, it's who you became in your journey to get you here, and you have a long journey ahead of you. And when you can look back and think, man, what were the intangibles that I really did, and I know, especially if you're just starting out, you're like, but I just want my first 5K month, or I want my first 6K month, or whatever that is. Like, I just want to hit 7 figures. And it's easy to get lost in that number. And I get it. Like, I'm speaking to me as I'm speaking to you. But if you do not celebrate the wins and understand the journey of this, and I'm right now developing different like wealth strategies, and that's the long game. So if you don't enjoy the short game, you're going to be fizzled out. That's when most businesses don't make it past 3 years. And when you can really understand the intangibles, and this is what I'm taking from you, Doug, is it's number one, just surrounding yourself with the right people. And we live in like what I call group society. There's Facebook group, LinkedIn group, meetup groups. There's all these different Clubhouse, all these different things. You get to choose, because I hear this all, well, they're disconnected, and that's your mindset on those groups. And if you get to show up and you want community and you want connection, because really, to be honest, it really takes about 3 to 5 really connected relationships that can advance you. Honestly, you take one really strong mentor, coach. Even if you pay them, people think that for some reason, if you pay a coach or a mentor, like it devalues it. And I'm like, no, it should value it even higher because you paid them. But like, pay somebody, get their wisdom. Like, ask them things, don't be afraid of that. That is going to accelerate your growth more than anything else. So Doug, where can they find you? And I know you have something free for our audience. So share that with them and we will close this out.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to talk about this for a second. I'll drop it and let you guys know. This is something I realized 2 years into this business, going through all the things that were working, that weren't working. We talk about what's not working and recognizing that if it's not in the vision, cut it out. But what is working and double down on that. And it was March 2021. I had the goal of getting to the Two Comic Award, making $1 million online. And what was working was when I hosted this one type of event each time I ran it, we had our biggest growth month. And then there'd be months where I don't do anything. And I'm like, what's going on here? Well, let's double down that event. That event is known as a challenge or a multiple day virtual event. And when I recognized that, we started March 2021, I had until September. I was at $400,000 in revenue in 2 years. Now, not crazy, but really good for someone who used to wait tables.
Yeah.
And
really good for most. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a gap of $600,000 that I had to make in 6 months for Full Hacking Live to get on stage to get that award. So I said, well, how do we do more of these events? We went from doing them quarterly to doing them every single month. And by August, we passed $1 million. And it took us 2 years to get not even halfway there. We did it in 6 months with what I'm about to share with you. And that's a 5-day challenge model, or it could be a 3-day. It's a multiple day virtual event. Just know that. So I have something I want to share with you. It's called our 6-figure challenge toolkit. And if you're interested, if you have a business, you have something to offer, and you're looking to get more clients by hosting an enrollment event or conversion event, one-to-many without sales calls, that's what this course will teach you. And you can have it absolutely free. And you can get that at DougBoughton.com. You could find that resource there.
Guys, like that is worth thousands of dollars. I'm sure if he hasn't sold it for that, I've seen that. You see that. Challenges are the thing, right? Like there's all these people and they're selling all these things. And Doug just poured his heart out and is showing you step by step. And we will put that link in the show notes so you guys have that. But thank you so much, Doug. I appreciate you, your wisdom on this. And you're still so young. And I know I see a beautiful life with you and your girlfriend, Kelsey, and just living your best life, right? And that's what it's about.
Thank you so much.
So thank you guys. And thank you listeners. We will put that in the show notes. And until next time, remember what went wrong can always lead to what went right. All right. Bye guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.